The hardest kick I ever felt wasn't from my unborn baby. It was the moment my own father shoved me so hard that my pregnant belly slammed into the edge of a dining table. The room exploded into screams. Then, just as I thought I had lost everything, the front door opened. And my husband walked in. My name is Olivia Bennett. I was 30 years old, 7 months pregnant with my first child, and I honestly believed my brother's engagement party would be the beginning of healing our family. Instead, it became the day my father lost his daughter forever. Growing up, my younger brother, Ethan, was everything my parents ever wanted. He played football. He was outgoing. He loved being the center of attention. I was different. Quiet. Responsible. The daughter who called every Sunday. The daughter who remembered anniversaries. The daughter who stayed beside my mother during her cancer scare. But somehow, none of it was ever enough. If Ethan forgot Mother's Day, everyone laughed. If I arrived 5 minutes late for dinner, I was disrespectful. After years of trying to earn my father's approval, I finally stopped. Then I met my husband, Mason. For the first time in my life, someone loved me without making me compete for it. We married 2 years later. When I became pregnant, Mason cried before I did. He kissed my forehead and whispered, "Our little girl is already the luckiest baby in the world." My parents didn't react the same way. My father simply nodded. Hopefully motherhood matures you. I didn't even know what that meant. But I ignored it. Like always. A month later, Ethan announced his engagement. The entire family celebrated. My mother insisted we all attend the engagement party. I almost stayed home. My pregnancy had been difficult. My doctor warned me to avoid unnecessary stress. But Ethan personally called me. "I want you there." So I went. Mason couldn't come immediately because he was finishing an important meeting. He promised he'd arrive later. "I'll be there before dinner," he said. "I promise." The party was beautiful. Soft music played in the background. The backyard was decorated with white flowers and string lights. Everyone seemed happy. At first. Then my father started drinking. He wasn't the loud, funny kind of drunk. He became cold. Sharp. The type who searched for someone to blame. Unfortunately, that someone was usually me. It started with little comments. "So pregnancy has made you lazy? You've certainly gained enough weight." Guests laughed awkwardly. I forced a smile. For Ethan's sake. Then my father's attention shifted to my baby bump. He stared at it before saying loudly, "I hope that child inherits Mason's side of the family." The laughter disappeared. Even Ethan looked uncomfortable. "Dad." But my father ignored him. I stood up quietly. "I think I'm going to get some fresh air." I didn't want to fight. I simply wanted to breathe. As I walked toward the patio doors, my father grabbed my arm. "Don't walk away while I'm talking." His grip hurt. "Dad, please." He pulled harder. I tried to step back. Then everything happened in seconds. He lost his balance. Still holding my arm. His momentum threw me forward. My pregnant belly slammed directly into the sharp edge of the dining table. The pain was instant. Blinding. I screamed. The room froze. I wrapped both hands around my stomach. My knees collapsed. Then I saw it. Blood. Just a few drops. But enough to terrify me. People started shouting. Someone called 911. My mother covered her mouth. My father stood frozen. Like he couldn't believe what he'd done. That was when the front door opened. Mason walked in. He looked around. Saw me on the floor. Saw the blood. Saw my father standing over me. His face changed in a way I'd never seen before. He dropped everything and ran to me. "Liv." He knelt beside me. Stay with me. I grabbed his shirt. The baby. His hands were shaking. We're getting you to the hospital. He looked at my father. What happened? Nobody answered. Finally, Ethan spoke. Dad pushed her. Silence. Complete silence. Mason slowly stood up. For a second, I thought he was going to hit my father. Instead, he simply looked him directly in the eyes. You don't get to come near my wife ever again. His voice was calm, which somehow made it even more frightening. An ambulance arrived within minutes. The ride felt endless. Every bump made me panic. Every second felt like an hour. Doctors rushed me into emergency evaluation. Mason refused to leave my side. I watched tears roll down his face as doctors searched for our baby's heartbeat. Then, a sound. Fast. Strong. Beautiful. Our daughter's heartbeat filled the room. I broke down crying. So did Mason. The baby was alive. But the doctor wasn't smiling. He explained I had suffered abdominal trauma. Thankfully, the placenta hadn't detached. But I would need strict monitoring and complete bed rest. 1 more inch. That was all. 1 more inch could have changed everything. Twist number 1 came 2 days later. While recovering in the hospital, Ethan visited me alone. He looked devastated. Then he handed me a flash drive. I think you should see this. The engagement party had been recorded by a videographer. Multiple cameras. Multiple angles. I watched the footage. Again. And again. My father hadn't accidentally bumped into me. He deliberately yanked my arm when I tried to walk away. He may not have intended to hit my stomach. But he absolutely intended to stop me by force. Watching it made me physically sick. The truth was undeniable. Twist number 2 arrived that same evening. My mother came to the hospital crying. I need you to know something. She admitted this wasn't the first time. Years earlier, my father had shoved her during an argument. He had thrown things. Broken furniture. Never enough to leave visible injuries. Always enough to create fear. She spent decades covering for him. Making excuses. Protecting his image. But watching him hurt his pregnant daughter shattered whatever denial she had left. I can't protect him anymore. For the first time in her life, she chose me. The climax came 3 weeks later. After I returned home, my father appeared outside our house. He demanded to speak with me. Mason stepped outside first. I just want to apologize. Mason folded his arms. No. I made a mistake. No. I deserve one conversation. Mason looked directly at him. You didn't make a mistake. You made a choice. My father lowered his head. Then the police officer standing nearby approached him. Because yes, Mason had arranged for an officer to be present. Not for revenge. For safety. My father was formally served with a protective order. Then he was informed that the engagement video had been preserved as evidence. His shoulders collapsed. For the first time in my life, he looked powerless. Months later, my daughter, Lily, was born healthy. Perfect. The first person to hold her after Mason was my mother. She cried so hard she could barely speak. She eventually divorced my father. She started therapy. She rebuilt relationships with me and Ethan. As for Ethan, he postponed his wedding. Not because of me. Because he refused to celebrate while pretending nothing had happened. He later married with only people who truly respected his new family. My father wasn't invited. I haven't spoken to him since that day. Sometimes people ask if I regret cutting him out of my life. My answer is always the same. The day my father slammed my pregnant belly into that table, I stopped asking whether he loved me. Because love doesn't grab. Love doesn't humiliate. Love doesn't make a pregnant woman fear for her child. Real love looks like my husband dropping everything the second he saw me on that floor. Real love looks like a man holding my shaking hands while doctors searched for our baby's heartbeat. Real love chooses protection over pride. My father spent 30 years demanding respect. My husband earned mine in a single moment. And the day both men stood in the same room, I finally understood the difference between the family you're born into and the family that truly fights for you.